Hi, my name is Dave Mountain, and I'm an email marketing consultant for Marketing and Advertising Direction. Today, we're going to talk about making email metrics work for you. And this seems like it might be a simple thing, but the trouble with email is that a lot of folks want to boil it down to one single key performance indicator or KPI. And what's really going to work better for you is if you're looking at things holistically. So I'm going to take you through some of the major KPIs that people focus on, and then I'm going to point out why you need to look at more than just that, and we'll give you an action plan moving forward. First, inboxing. A lot of folks will talk about, hey, this inboxed at a certain percentage, and if it doesn't get to the inbox, all is lost. Well, true but not always. Inboxing should be table stakes. It should be something that is involved, that should be on all of your campaigns. There are also occasionally brands where getting to the promotional tab is okay because users are conditioned to look there for deals, especially. But for the most part, inboxing is going to work for all of your creative, assuming your internet protocol and your sender reputation are set up correctly, that your security stuff is set up correctly, and that your subject lines aren't a disaster. There's a real easy way to make sure that your subject lines aren't a disaster, but we can get into that a bit later. The most important problem spot from an inboxing standpoint is no one should be happy if it just gets to the inbox. Doesn't mean people opened it, doesn't mean people read it, doesn't mean people bought it, doesn't mean people clicked on anything. Getting to the inbox shouldn't keep you happy. It is a very important metric, but not the only thing you should be looking at. Well, then, if not getting to the open box, how about opens? If no one opens it, how could they possibly do any good with it? Well, yes, but the trouble for opens is this might have been true 20 and 30 years ago, but in the last 2 to 5, Apple and Google have systematically destroyed opens as a reliable metric. They've taken away some of the auto open situation, and they've attributed that at a machine level, so everyone's open rates have gone up in the last 1 to 2 years. And as such, you may not be really seeing that as a very good customer experience. It appeared on their screen, but people didn't actually interact with it or engage with the email at all. In addition, if you've got a very high opening email, but everyone unsubscribes, everyone says this is spam, everyone says this is a phishing attack, then your open rate that's really high wasn't helping you. You have to actually look at the attrition on these sends as in addition to the open rate. Also, finally, somebody might open something, get all the information they need, and take no further action. They don't convert, they don't click, they don't share. You gave them everything they needed and they're done now. That's probably not the best performing email you can get. Well then, if not open, how about click? If no one clicks on the email, well, here's the trouble. How many emails do you click on? In general, the average user will get about 100 to 150 emails per day, and they're going to click on maybe 3 to 5 of them. In general, clicks aren't a huge testable difference in a lot of emails. This can change a lot depending upon whether you're a nonprofit or you're political or you're commerce, etc. But you need to look at more than clicks. Also, it's usually hard to determine from statistically significant confidence level to say that this email worked better than that email because clicks. What you should be looking for also is the traffic from those clicks. If people are coming to your website but bailing immediately, well, you kind of trick them to getting there, and you're probably going to also see a spike in your spam or your phishing points on that, or your unsubscribe levels. So consequently, you can't just look at clicks either. Well then, fine, we'll just look at the money. If no one buys anything, what are we even doing? Well, depending again on your category, you're right. But most purchases don't come strictly from an email. Most purchases came from a domino or a snowball effect of I also saw it on social. I got a retargeting banner. I got a piece of direct mail, and then I clicked on the email because the email was in my box and we're good. In general, purchases attributed to an email need to be taken with a grain of salt. Also, maybe the only thing people are buying are a loss leader or the lowest possible donation level, etc. What also will happen a lot in e-commerce plays especially is that someone will click on something, purchase something, and the marketing manager will think this is a fantastic execution, but it'll just be skewed by a rare event. If you have one person buy something significant, well, then the email program worked really well, right? Actually, just one person. You can't really draw, again, confidence level from that. Most folks in a marketing program also are not ready to throw people away if they're not ready to buy at this exact moment. So if the only thing you're looking at with your email is, do people spend money with you right now, maybe you lost them long term, and that's not such a good thing. Okay, I can't just judge, well, what if I look at trends? Is it better if my open rates are going up? Is it better if my click rates are going up, etc., etc.? And the trouble with trends is that most folks may not look back far enough. I had a client once that was utterly convinced the sky was falling because their unsubscribe rate was going up every week. And we were sending too much, and it was all trouble, trouble, trouble. And what are we going to do about these unsubscribe rates? At which point I looked back at their numbers from a year ago and said, hey, your trouble is it's Q4. And Q4 unsubscribe rates generally are going up because people send too much money or send too much email in Q4, and folks get annoyed and unsubscribe out of it. If you've seen your unsubscribe rate go up this year, there's a real good reason for it. Google has made it really easy to fat finger and unsubscribe. Globally, unsubscribes have gone up by a factor of almost 2 this year. So the trouble with the trend is it's really easy to attribute everything to your creative. Because that's the thing you control, that's the thing you think about. So, or you test it and that's the thing you see out of it. But the reality is your creative is one factor. Your list is another factor. The email channel as a whole is a third factor. What else is going on in the world? Fourth factor, etc. So, have some intellectual humility when it comes to tracking your trends. It's great when they're going up in the ways that you like. Don't take all the credit for it. So are these all the metrics that you could possibly be looking at? The answer, sadly, is no. There are under the hood metrics that, depending on your email service provider and your access levels, you may be able to see, and they also may have really good clues as to how your email is performing. Some folks will be able to see glance, skim, and read rates, which is a pixel that'll fire at 0 to 2, 2 to 8, and over 8 seconds. This will tell you whether your email is living on the screen for a significant amount of time. It's not a perfect metric, but it does give you a nice little cross point to test against and say, hey, it turns out we're going way into too much detail here. Or it turns out that our users really love this stuff and we could spend more time with it. In addition, this is a really great little hidden metric is, are people opening it more than once? Are people looking at it on the handheld device, saving it for later, coming back to it on their laptop? That's a good sign. Are they clicking on it more than once? Again, a good sign, especially if you're comparing it to other emails where that's not happening. Are you getting response over a long period of time? Is it living in the inbox for a while? Are people using it as a de facto bookmark and coming back to it? These are all really good signs for your brand, and these are metrics that are going to change from creative to creative. I am also a huge fan of having people directly reply to your email. Allow them to do this, engage with them. It is a great way to improve your sender reputation, and it gets email service providers convinced that you're not sending spam. Finally, look at the site analytics, the traffic from it, set up your UTMs and do your Google Analytic work and see, okay, this email is provoking this long of a site visit or this many page views, as opposed to that email over there, which provoking very few of them. It's really easy to think that, oh, people are opening this, people are clicking it, it must be the kind of email we should be sending. Look again. look at the additional metrics, see and make sure that not only are there hidden winners out there, there are also false positives. And I compare this all to, you don't need to be a car mechanic to know where the windshield washer fluid goes. And it'll probably help you if you know where the windshield washer fluid goes. So check these metrics, see how they're performing for your different emails, and use this accordingly. So all this comes down to, how do you learn from these different metrics? And the answer is deviation from mean. Find the difference. Test things and see that they're performing differently on your open rate, on your click rate, on your view count, etc., etc. See where your differences lie. And if the answer is on none of these things, test stronger differences. Look harder at your list. See that you're mailing to decent quality. Don't be afraid of email creatives or results that don't perform as well as some others. That's where all the learning is going to come from. What you should eventually be getting to is what I like to call an if-then, not an A/B test. Don't just throw stuff against the wall and hope something sticks. If something sticks against the wall, let's find out, what are we going to throw next? Because that was the most adhesive stuff, and maybe more of a higher concentration of that, etc. It'll make your testing so much easier when you're able to say, and satisfying, frankly, when you're able to say, this worked, so let's try this, rather than just, we always test because somebody told us we should. All of these things should be getting you to what some folks will call best practices. There are no best practices. There are simply strong practices. For instance, right now, it's particularly good occasionally to send on weekends. Will it always be good to send on weekends, depending on the category, depending on the offer? No. No, the world will send too much on weekends, and then it'll start to stink to send on weekends. You have to test these things. Everything is on loan. And finally, to sum up, so what are you going to do moving forward now that you've seen how complicated this world is? Resist certainty. Resist the idea that I know exactly why something worked. You don't. Email is an organic channel. It will keep changing, and there is no perfect email. There will never be an email that is absolutely your best open, absolutely your best click, absolutely your best revenue, absolutely your best read rate, absolutely your lowest unsubscribe, absolutely your lowest spam complaint, absolutely your most multi-open and multi-click and all these things. It just never happens. So accept that perfect doesn't exist. This is a journey. Look at these metrics in context and use them like different tools. If a hammer is better than a screwdriver for some tasks, don't say, I love my hammer, I'm going to use it for all tasks. Use it for the tasks that a hammer is good for. Get your open rates up with transaction pieces. Get your click rates happening with offer pieces. Get your multi-metric usage happening with blog and content, etc., etc. Learn and know your seasonality so that you know when something isn't just false positive or hidden negative. And be aware of factors that are beyond your control. Know that global unsubscribe rate is going up, etc., etc. Be an email professional rather than somebody who's just dabbling and saying, ooh, my open rates are up, I'm all good, we can go home now. You can't go home. Embrace the journey. And if you would like someone to take you on that journey and help you out further, get in touch. That's the phone number, that's the email address, that's the website, that's the LinkedIn profile. Thanks for listening, and I hope this helped you out. See ya.